The day I found a steel gate blocking the only road to my cabin, I thought it was a mistake. By the end of that week, the HOA had claimed my driveway, my shoreline, and even the lake I'd spent half my life protecting. That's when I decided if they could lock me out of my land, I could lock them off my water. It started on a Tuesday morning in late March. Cold air, rolling off Hartwell Lake pine needles fluttering across the gravel road I'd built 20 years ago. I was driving back from town, same route I'd taken hundreds of times before, when my headlights caught a glint of silver across the trail. At first, I thought a tree had fallen. Then I slammed the brakes. There it was, a brand new aluminum gate, keypad lock, concrete footings still damp, and a bold blue sign. Private HOA property. No entry without permission. For a second, I wondered if I'd taken the wrong turn. But no, the crooked cedar post on the right, the boulder I'd hauled there myself, the view of my dock through the trees. This was my road, my land, my home. I got out of the truck, heart pounding. No letter, no call, no warning. Just a barrier built overnight like a slap in the face. I'd seen a lot in 20 years of Navy service storms, blockades men with guns, but I'd never expected a gate to feel this personal. I called the HOA office, voice tight. "This is Daniel Reed. Someone just installed a gate across my access road." "Oh," Mr. Reed chirped a voice I recognized, Cheryl, the receptionist. "That's part of our trail standardization initiative." "Standardization," I said. "That road leads to my house. According to our records, it's part of the community access system." "That's a lie," I said flat. "I built that road with my own 2 hands before the HOA even existed." Her voice dropped to a polite chill. "Perhaps you should speak to the board president." "Oh, I will." By the next morning, I was in their office, a sterile room next to the tennis courts that smelled like new carpet and arrogance. Cheryl froze when she saw me, then disappeared into the back room. Out came a tall woman with graying hair and a blazer sharp enough to cut glass. "Mr. Reed," she said, all confidence and condescension. "Karen Henley, HOA president. I assume this is about the gate." "You assume, right," I said. "You built it on private property." Actually, she smiled, our review shows that the trail falls under common access land. "Do you have the original plat map? Our legal team is reviewing it." "Then stop acting like you own something you don't." She folded her arms. "We're simply enforcing consistent trail use. You're not exempt just because you're a veteran." That one hit deep. I took a slow breath. "Let me make this clear, Ms. Henley. You built that gate across my easement. If it's not gone in 7 days, I'll file a notice of trespass, and when the court sides with me, and they will, you'll wish you'd left me alone." She chuckled. "Are you threatening the board?" "No," I said. "I'm protecting what's mine." I left before she could respond, but the damage was done. That night, I dug out the old metal file box under my bed, the one with the deed. The blueprints, the survey map signed by Henderson Timber back in '96. Every document confirmed it that trail was deeded to me in perpetuity. My right-of-way, my land. But proof wasn't enough for people like Henley. Power was her oxygen. A few days later, I got a call from Clark Simmons, an old neighbor. "Dan, they're planning to vote on turning the North Bend your side into a public lakefront park," he said. "Benches, trails, maybe kayak rentals." I nearly dropped the phone. "That's my property." "I know," he said quietly. "They're using a loophole, claiming the old maps don't show boundary markers." It wasn't a loophole, it was theft. Legalized laminated theft. That night, I barely slept. For the first time in years, I questioned myself. Was I being unreasonable? Maybe I'd been isolated too long. Maybe I was turning into the angry old man the HOA said I was. I stared at the fire dying in my hearth and asked myself, am I really going to war over a dirt road? Then I looked at the framed map on my wall, the one signed by the foreman who sold me this land. You build it, he'd said it's yours forever. That word, forever, was the reason I got up the next morning ready to fight. I called an attorney named Maria Keller, a no-nonsense property lawyer who'd worked for the state. After I told her everything, she asked one question. "Do you have the original deed and surveys?" "Yes," I said, "stamped and recorded." "Then they don't stand a chance. But if they pass that vote, you'll need to move fast." And I did. I spent days gathering every piece of proof, photos, tax records, old VHS tapes of me building the road with my dog in the background. Then I drove to the county recorder's office and filed a formal declaration of ownership. When the county inspector came out to verify, his face went pale. "This gate's 6 feet inside your property line," he said. "They poured concrete into your easement." I grinned. "Put that in writing." He did. And when the official notice came down ordering the HOA to remove the structure within 30 days, I made 12 copies. Posted one on the gate itself. Big, bold letters. "This gate is illegal." Then I took it further. I mounted aluminum signs along my dock and shoreline. "Private lake access. No HOA vessels permitted. Trespassers will be reported." They'd blocked my road. I'd block their lake. The backlash was immediate. A letter on HOA letterhead demanded I remove unauthorized signage. Then came the fines, $250 a day for obstructing community property. They even accused me of disturbing visual harmony. I almost laughed. Harmony. They'd vandalized my dock with red paint, slashed my kayak, and installed a camera aimed right at my cabin. When Deputy Ramos saw it, he shook his head. "This violates state privacy code," he said. "We'll be in touch." That night I stared out over the dark lake. The water looked calm, but underneath I could feel the current shifting. They wanted control, but I had the tide. 2 weeks later, the story broke. A local reporter ran a front-page headline: "Veteran Landowner Battles HOA Over Private Lake Access." My photo, standing at the gate arms crossed, spread across the state. Neighbors who'd once ignored me started calling. "We thought that road was yours, Dan." They lied to us. Karen and her board panicked. They called an emergency meeting and voted to reassert community lake rights. In plain English, they decided to ignore the county order. So the next afternoon, I heard the hum of an engine across the water. The HOA's community pontoon boat, Serenity, glided toward my dock. At the bow stood Karen Henley herself, sunglasses on, scarf whipping in the wind like some suburban admiral. She shouted before they even reached the dock, "You can't seriously think you own this lake." I stood firm. "You're entering private property. Final warning." "This is our lake," she barked. I raised my phone. "The county disagrees. You're violating a cease order." "Oh, please," she sneered. "You're one man. We are the elected representatives of this community." I didn't have to answer. The sound of another engine cut her off. Deputy Ramos rounded the bend in his patrol boat, blue lights flashing. Karen's face drained of color. "Ma'am," Ramos said calmly. "Cut the engine and present identification." "This is harassment," she yelled. "He's harassing me." "You're operating a vessel in restricted waters," Ramos replied, deadpan. Cody, the neighbor kid, was filming everything with his drone. The moment Ramos read her the violation order and escorted her off the boat, the footage caught her screaming about legal tyranny and threatening to have the sheriff fired. By nightfall, the video hit YouTube. HOA President Meltdown on Lake Removed by Sheriff. 85,000 views overnight. By the next morning, Karen had resigned, citing stress and false accusations. The HOA tried to spin it, but the internet didn't buy it. I wasn't a villain anymore, I was a man who fought back. Then came the final blow, the county hearing. Me and Maria versus what was left of the board. Curtis Dunn, the compliance officer, and Shelley Robbins, now acting president. They brought a lawyer who looked like he'd just graduated. The commissioner, a stone-faced woman named Helen Boone, presided. "Mr. Reed, she began your claim lists: trespass, unauthorized construction, and attempted annexation. Do you have documentation?" Maria handed over the entire packet: deeds, surveys, the HOA's own memo planning to seize my shoreline. Boone flipped through it, her expression hardening with every page. "Mr. Dunn," she said, "did you seek consent to build this gate?" "No, ma'am." "Did you fine Mr. Reed for blocking access to his own property?" He swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." Boone closed the file. This board violated multiple statutes. The gate must be removed within 7 business days. All fines nullified. The HOA is barred from making any future claims on Parcel 14B. If you attempt to do so, I'll refer this to the State Attorney General. Silence. Just the sound of my heartbeat and Maria's quiet, satisfied sigh. When we walked out of that courthouse, the clouds broke. Sunlight hit the steps like a spotlight. A week later, the gate came down. Steel, shrieking wood, cracking the camera, shattering against the truck bed. I stood there with a thermos of coffee watching every piece hauled away. The road to my cabin was open again. Free. For the first time in months, the lake was quiet. No pontoon boats, no HOA patrols, just wind water and peace. And in that silence, I realized something. They built walls out of rules, lies, and arrogance, and I tore them down with patience, paperwork, and the truth. Because sometimes standing alone doesn't mean you're losing it, means you finally stopped letting them win.